Hi, you're watching the UseWise channel. I'm Adriana Baranek, and here with me is our CTO, Mladen Baranek. So, the other day we mentioned when we were talking the bleeding edge technologies, and we decided to make a video out of it because, by its nature, the bleeding edge technology. The term was coined in 1983 by some unnamed banking executive, as Wikipedia states. And he was referring, in fact, to storage. At one point, even email was considered a bleeding edge technology. So the theme of this video is basically how to be on the right side of implementing the bleeding edge technology, how to be sure that technology that you're implementing will do you good and that you will not just be wasting your money. Mladen, can you tell us more about it, please?
So there are many temptations to use bleeding edge technology. You will get a lot of information about new capabilities, new possibilities, how you can change your business model, and how you can implement bleeding edge technologies to enhance your business. Of course, it is very hard to verify whether those technologies have merit because you usually do not have a lot of examples. You cannot get references, and the question is, should you go with bleeding edge technologies? And if you go with bleeding edge technologies, how to choose from the lot of things offered currently on the market. So there are many strategic decisions to be made, especially if choices will impact your operational routines and your operational workflow. So there are a few recommendations what to do. First of all, some technologies are backed up by open source community that is usually financed by large corporations like Microsoft, Google, IBM, or others. So that's a good sign, but not the only one. So if you can trace there is some backing from public cloud vendors, and that project is kind of an open source or community sponsored project, that might be one of positive signals. And the other thing is, if you can pick application area where you can manage risk. So risk management when deploying bleeding edge technologies, it's very important. And if you can fit your choices with risk management, that is a very good sign that you are ready to deploy a specific bleeding edge technology. So there are many benefits if you do that, because first of all, you will be one of the first who will try it, and you have a lot of more potential to get benefits from using a bleeding edge technology in your business model. You may achieve some results that were not that will enhance your competitiveness, and that will give you an edge over your competitors. So if you see that what is proposed to you is kind of a closed technology that is relying on some on-prem solutions that it uses. It claims to be bleeding edge technology based on foundations that are not really modern. that is a very bad sign. So most probably you should skip such proposal. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because it is very difficult. In fact, everybody claims to have the bleeding edge technology. Of course, if you are in the technology business, if you are like those big players like IBM will come and they will tell you that Watson is the bleeding edge technology. It does not necessarily have to be true. It can be true, of course, and you can really hit the gold mine with some innovative concept. But the more the technology is mainstream, the less it is a technological advantage for you. The less competitive advantage it will bring you when you compare yourself to your competitors. So can we say that like when we compare like generally even existentially, when you compare like on-premise and public cloud, okay, public cloud wins. But now, for instance, you are using Google, you're using the Google Cloud Platform, for instance, and there are many services on Google Cloud Platform, and you can really achieve the technological advantage if you use some service that not so many companies currently are using. If you really take advantage of those services, can you tell us more about that aspect?
So there is this so-called S-curve, how products are introduced into the market. So when we are talking about bleeding edge technology, it comes even before early adopters are adopting that specific technology in their IT toolset. So in principle, there are many products that are in alpha or beta, so they're kind of a moving target. And if they don't have general availability, you may be exposed to changes that will impact your current deployment, and there will be very short notification. So you most probably will not get enough time to adapt if you are using alpha releases of services. Then again, many companies use bleeding edge in a sense of alpha and beta software in order to train, to explore, and to prepare themselves to launch services or products that will be based on such technologies when they achieve general availability. So that is one of examples when using bleeding edge technology, even before it is ready for general availability, may be beneficial, because if you launch products based on such bleeding edge technologies, you will sure have advantage over your competitors.
Yeah, I mean, because in a way, when we're talking about that, it's for companies, it might be that they have the dead horses that will just go away and that create them more problems than anything else. And, being too afraid of new technologies, of implementing new stuff, is definitely not the right way to go. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's better to go with a little bit of the bleeding edge technology and even to bleed a little sometimes than to be strictly conservative and, just keep your own data centers and spend lots of money on that. Can you please comment on that?
Yes, so it's not only that if you stick with older technology, that you will face a lot of issues with deprecation policies. Some APIs will not be valid. There will be support issues, and so some companies ride on that laggard wave, so they are using technologies from 80s or 90s. Because for them it is hard to rewrite some applications. So it might make sense, but then again, there is a mixture of current technologies And for sure, bleeding edge technologies can give you an edge that if you ignore them completely, you will never experience. So you will not give yourself a chance to be more competitive and to explore new business models.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's we usually recommend companies to think strategically, to make a plan for their deployment in the cloud, because cloud as a platform, it offers so many varieties. And if you need help in that regard, we can of course help you and point you to some of the technology and services that might be a good fit for what you need. Because if you are solving problems for the 2019 with tools from 1980, then you really have a problem. And if you're doing it with solutions that are current, most probably you're less likely to make a wrong decision. What would you recommend to companies that are considering upgrading their technology, upgrading their data centers, using new services?
So today, cloud can hardly be considered bleeding edge technology. Basically, cloud is adopted, and almost all companies are using it to some extent. But if you migrate core IT services, office productivity, and workflow to public cloud, suddenly you'll be exposed to a number of tools and platforms that are in various stages of development. So you can for sure use generally available standard solutions for storage, for data warehousing, for these days artificial intelligence is coming to fruition. So a lot of companies are trumping that artificial intelligence can add that special flavor to their products. And it is much easier and much cheaper to experiment and to develop using public cloud services, especially if you are multi-cloud and if you have alpha and beta services that your team can explore. It can bring you a lot of benefits, and you can easily manage risks. So you can choose projects that can have impact on your company, but that are not really crucial for the survival of the company, and try to experiment whether you can improve on that. And it is becoming faster and faster. So with public cloud, if some projects fail, basically you don't have as much sunken costs as if you would try to do it with on-prem. So you'll be much happier and more flexible in public cloud.
Yeah, so we talked about the single vendor trap and how to avoid it. And especially if you're only going with a single vendor in the cloud, you may find yourself in a situation where this vendor, even though amazing on many aspects, they might not be on the bleeding edge of technology for some. And for instance, you want, like, I don't know, artificial intelligence, and you ask your vendor, do they have it? Yes, we have it, of course, we all have it. And then you get yourself into trouble because the service is not really what it's supposed to be. I think that especially with trying to keep on the bleeding edge of technology and trying to improve your IT as much as possible without incurring substantial risks and costs, the single vendor is even a worse idea than usual. Would you agree with that?
Yes. So many public cloud services in alpha or beta phase are either kind of open source, or they have a clear understanding what they try to achieve. So most probably you'll be able to go multi-cloud, basically multi-vendor, even if you are exploring new services and new platforms.
Yeah, and you can go with services that are really the best and not only like on paper called something that's there.
Yeah, so just to mention, for example, today trying to transform your workloads to be containerized and to run them in Docker containers or using Kubernetes is something that you can do in a multi-cloud environment, and that is one technology that is coming from kind of bleeding edge into an early adopter phase. So many companies are developing solutions, but there are some companies who are actually migrating their data loads to Kubernetes and to containerized solutions.
Yeah, great. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, please feel free to ask us for some specific technologies you are interested in. Maybe we can work together, and looking forward to get feedback on.
Of course. And please leave any questions that you have in questions and answers below. Subscribe to our channel, like the video, and we might even make a video out of your questions. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Thank you, Mladen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.